Welcome back, everybody, to Two Guys and a Stack of Comics. My name is Reed. Along with me, as always, is Mike. Mike, how you doing, sir?
Hey, Reed, I'm doing all right. I'm glad to be talking comics.
Always good to be talking comics, talking a little bit about some new stuff Marvel's doing, and there's rumors DC is going to be doing it as well. This started with the X-Men comics that Marvel's done. Well, one of the trends has, the other's a little bit older, but Marvel has started implementing QR codes on the last page of their X-Men comics. And instead of being like previews for bonus material, it's actually like the last page of the comic. So if you scan it, there's a lot of spoilers or major moments in these, and some are bigger than others. But essentially, if you go buy an X-Men comic book, there's a QR code in the back, and that has essentially the last page. Before we talk about our thoughts about it, I'll kind of go through the explanation that we got from Tom Brevoort, the guy who's running the X-Men line. Apparently, the idea behind this or the emphasis behind this was because spoilers had been getting out more and more online prior to the book releasing. This was an attempt to kind of prevent spoilers, which I don't really know how that works because if someone was able to get a hold of the last page and leak the last page when it was just a piece of art, I don't know why they wouldn't just be able to scan the QR code and leak that. But apparently, that was some of the emphasis of it to make sure that the material was as
Interesting.
unreleased as possible until the release date of the comic. Um, but at the same time, you're still paying the full price and not quite getting the full book. So that's the first one. We'll also talk a little bit about redband edition of comic books that are coming out as well. But we'll start with the QR code one. Mike, your thoughts on this whole QR code idea of a page hidden by that? We know DC's thinking about some of this too. What are your thoughts on it?
At first thought, it kind of sounds fun. Okay, well, let's go get the rest of the comic. But then, if the QR code gets leaked, then everybody gets that last page. They didn't even buy the comic. Is that right?
So yeah, you read basically you get 27 of the 28 pages, and page 28 is the last page of the book. And the thing is, these are not extra pages, these are not bonus content. This is truly the last page of the comic book
I think it
that
would be
that you're getting.
better if it was like a post-credit scene, you know,
Yeah.
and it just kind of added to the story, didn't take away. It wasn't, it just enhanced the rest of the
Mhm.
book, but you didn't need it to complete the story.
Yeah, I,
Rather
I
than
think
hold something back from the buyer of the comic, like what if his phone is broken? I mean, in this day and age, that never
well, no,
happens.
that's the whole thing. Everybody has a phone, sure, but some folks don't. And the bottom line is, if I went and paid $5.99 for a comic book, I should get the whole freaking comic book. I shouldn't have to make sure I've got enough. And again, yes, you can say everyone's got cellular data. Yes, you can say everyone's got a cell phone. It shouldn't be that to buy the comic book and get the comic book, I also need to make sure that I've maintained my cell phone and my internet plan, and I'm in a place where I can connect to the internet and access the QR code at the same time to complete the comic book I gave you $6 for. That doesn't make sense at all.
I correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they tried something like this in the earlier days of the internet, where they gave you a web address and you could log on and you could. I don't remember. There
I know
was
they
some.
used to do free digital editions, little peel offs in the Marvel comics for it. And again, that's a digital edition, but it's what you had in print.
Right.
Um, I think the big issue is again, I'm paying more money for the comic book than I'd ever paid before. And now I don't even get the last page of the comic book.
It's a
I
little
have
bit
to
of a
scan the
slap in the
QR
face,
code.
right?
Here's the other part that I think this is just an I understand the idea of we want to avoid spoilers. I personally hate a couple websites that post comic book spoilers before the street date of the comics releasing. I think that's ridiculous. There's no way to really stop it though. In all
But I have
honesty,
a cure.
yeah, just don't go online
Exactly. I have a cure for that. Just avoid those places that do the
to
content.
do it. Yeah,
If you're like me and you don't get to the comic shop till Thursdays, like there's 2 days out there. I purposely avoid everything. I don't want to know. Same
yeah.
same thing with movies. I don't want to, I might watch one trailer, but I don't want to get all involved with, what was leaked. And I wait till the movie because I want
Yeah.
my money's worth when
No,
I.
you want your money's worth, and you're certainly not getting it if they hide a page behind a QR. And I know, well, it's one page. No, it's a part of the comic book. And there's a couple things I think that are also this is I can kind of see where this will eventually go if they keep. How long is it going to be before I scan the QR code and then I got to watch a 30-second ad before I get to see the last page of the key? So now I bought your comic and you're going to try to make revenue from commercials before I see the last ad or something like that. I
Yeah.
think that's inevitably going to happen, or that I have to click through 4 pages of other ads before I get to see that page. I think the other part as well is it doesn't even do the purpose that they say it's going to do with the QR code. Because again, if someone sees the last page of a comic book and could leak that, there's nothing stopping them scanning the phone and just leaking that. So it doesn't even do the alleged intentional purpose that it had. I think the other part, and this is more where you and I have been comic book nerds on things. You and I do graded comics a lot. We have used to do comic grading and stuff like that, and still enjoy doing that. One of the biggest things is if you have an incomplete story, that's quite an effect on any comic. And now they're literally selling you an incomplete story. And so I think from that aspect, and I guess you could say, well, it's not incomplete because there's no other pages. I don't know. You didn't give me the last page of the comic. It rubs me all wrong completely. I think it's absolutely ludicrous that they're doing
All
it.
the way around. I wouldn't mind so much if, the QR code was like a post-credit scene. It led to, penciled artwork from the issue or concept designs that didn't quite make the cut. All that kind of fun stuff that nerdy comic book geeks just love. Like, ooh, it would have been cool if they
If it
went
was
with
a
that.
4 page preview for the next issue, I think it's
Oh, there
brilliant
you
if you
go.
do that.
Yeah,
But
that's a winner right
or a
there.
4 page, if you want to do a QR code at the end, it's a 4 page preview of another comic book series. I think
I love
it's
that
not a
idea.
bad implementation. I love the way Flash Gordon did the QR code. Flash
That was
Gordon in
cool.
issue number 1, they had, hey, if you didn't get to the free comic book day, this is a number 1. It is a jumping on point, but if you want to see what happened before, scan the QR code, you get a digital copy of that comic. We're just not giving you the full book.
Right.
And
And
again,
is it a peel off thing?
no, it's just a literally page. You scan the code.
Oh, okay.
Kind of like now when you go to like Buffalo Wild Wings or whatever, and you got to scan the QR code to get the menu because apparently
Yeah.
handing you a menu is too difficult now.
That kind of
I
bugs me.
just
Am I getting too old? Go to
maybe
the
we're
movie
old men
theater.
screaming at the clouds on it. To me, the QR code menu things, okay, maybe that's convenient. But like, I think the biggest with this, I bought a comic book for you. I paid $5, $6 for an issue, and you can't even give me all the pages. And your alleged reason you're not doing it is because you want to avoid spoilers. I'm sorry. If someone's able to open the last page of the book and take a picture, they can do the same thing with the QR code. I just
Yeah.
think it's inevitable that this will lead to us having to watch it. If they keep doing this, it's inevitable it's going to lead to a 30-second commercial that you have to watch before you get to see your last page ad for the comic book. So I think QR
Just just
codes, I hope DC doesn't do it.
just like in the last days where the last page in the old days,
Hmm.
Marvel and DC would cut the page in half and then they'd have an ad at the bottom.
Yep. Some of those old like Flash comics, yeah,
Yeah.
had a ton of
And
that.
you're like, ah.
And again, I don't have an issue with it if you've given me the complete story and it's a teaser. But when I paid you $5 for a comic book,
I want my
and
comic.
and again, it's just one of those things. X-Men, man, why do this with the X-Men line? X-Men's coming off of a really rough run, huge relaunch, and then you put QR codes. I just, you throw in the fact that they had the Phoenix #1 issue with the art being allegedly lifted from other artists. I mean, just not good. Yeah, it's a rough snap. I don't know what they're thinking with a lot of that. Other
They'll
one that
probably
we
have to
saw as
rethink
well.
that one. They'll probably have to
Yeah,
rethink that.
I'm hoping they've allegedly gotten feedback and supposed to, but it's still coming out in recent issues. So maybe they'll stop, maybe they won't. I don't think it appeared in issue 2 for either of the ones that I got. So hopefully it was a first issue back. Maybe it was someone in the back of the room thought, man, this will be brilliant. We can connect them with their phones. And yeah, no. Bad idea, not, especially in the printed form. Again, digital comics are digital comics. If I'm going to the store and buying a print comic book, guess what? I want the printed comic book, not a digital / printed issue. I just think
Right.
horrible idea there. The other idea that we've seen from Marvel, and this started with their Blood Hunt event, and I'm sure this has happened with comics before, but it's really coming to the forefront with Marvel now, where they're doing this on multiple books that are coming out, including some bigger launches. They're doing this red band version of the comics, so kind of like the green band, red band trailer, where a red band trailer's got the curse words and the things they can't show in the regular trailer that airs in front of the movie. And so these red band comics, largely what you're doing is you pay an extra dollar. It's polybagged, and it has, I guess, extra art and art that's a little more gory and some change portions of the story. I think they did this for the Blood Hunt event they did. This new Wolverine book that they released with Jonathan Hickman and Greg
Is it
Capullo,
like the
Wolverine's
Black Label?
Revenge.
Is it
It's
like
like
the
Black. So imagine if Black Label, but you get Flash number 12 as you buy that, and that's the standard copy. But then if you want, you can pay a dollar more and get the same issue of Flash number 12. It's just got art that's a little more gory, some splash pages that are different, and stuff like that. Mainly, it's been kind of on these larger scale comic books that are a little more violent, like Blood Hunt, which feature vampires and stuff. Wolverine. I want to say Werewolf by Night. They're doing one as well, and I think the new Blade comic book is going to be that. What are your thoughts on the idea of doing two versions of the same comic, one regular, one red band?
well, I think it fits a narrative that you and I have been pushing for a while is that comics, some comics are too violent for the smaller kids, but we want those smaller kids to start picking them up so that they can become fans and get, into comics like we all did. And then the
The
other one that
problem is
you
the
were
standard version is still inappropriate for kids. So this is going like, hey, instead of the PG-13 close
way
to R
inappropriate.
version, here's the R version and the a little bit less than R version. Yeah.
Here's your Spider-Man, kiddo. Oh, wait, that was the red label one. Give me that back.
Yeah, again, it's one of the things I don't like. I understand what they're trying to do. It's a way to squeeze an extra dollar out of some folks. But again, if I went to the store and bought a
They're squeezing
Wolverine's
us.
if I went to the store about Wolverine's Revenge number one, and you have two versions of it, and to see the complete version of the issue, I've got to buy two versions of the book. And I know it's a couple things here and there, but I've seen some details. There were complete pages that were different, splash pages that were different, dialogue that's a little bit different in extent. So it's a director's cut versus the original cut of the film. But again, it's just one of those things where comics doesn't maybe it'll work sales wise. I just don't get it. And again, as a fan, it's like, what the heck are we doing, man? Like,
If
instead
you're
of bringing the medium closer to the age appropriate thing for Marvel and DC, we're going, hey, let's go even more adult. And I
tan
get
it up.
maybe that's got fans, but like I would much prefer they be like, hey, the regular version is this, and then here's like a green band version of it that is like for kids, where we cut a little bit of this stuff out, make it a little more kid friendly. Like if they were going to go that route, I'd be happy with it. It's not exact. I mean, the thing that I would wonder is who is exactly reading comics right now going, man, I really could use some more blood, gore, and violence in my Marvel and DC comics. I don't know where
That's
that
what's
audience is coming from.
I think it's two. I think there's two things. Okay. Number one, if you're a completist, like a lot of collectors are, we're really OCD. That means I'm going to have to pick up two copies of that book. So, cha-ching, that's good for sales, right? Now we've doubled our sales. Remember, like me, I used to do two copies of
Oh, he's
Flash
a Flash. Yeah, you were on a second.
because they had A and B cover. I didn't get extravagant like some books have 20 covers. It was just Flash. They only do two covers. I would get
Yeah,
A and B. Now I just get the B. I get the
the card
but
stock one.
but that's that's what that whole thing is about. Because they know if you're a collector, you want everything because we have OCD, we can't miss an issue, and so you're going to get more money. But here's the underlying thing: if you're going to do a PG Wolverine, it's got to be a whole different format, not the
Yeah,
same story, but it's got to be a whole different format, like Spider-Man and his friends.
yeah.
Give me
I think, yeah, if you're gonna do a kid friendly book, it's got to be a kid friendly book. I just The biggest thing I don't understand with Marvel, again, it's not like the Wolverine books lately have been short on violence. I mean, you can go look at the last couple issues of Wolverine. They did the Sabretooth War thing. There's dismemberments and all kind. I mean, it's everything. And again, as Wolverine, I guess you could say that's appropriate because of the character and the nature of his powers and the villains that he fights. I still would probably
Absolutely.
prefer a character, the profile of Wolverine, being a book where you're not like, I can't let my kid read this. But I guess maybe it is like you're saying. It's just let's squeeze a little more juice out of the orange and get these collectors and go. Oh, you got to buy two things to get the full. I don't really know who's doing that. To be honest, to me, in all
Oh,
honesty, it's more as someone who's bought in some of these books. It's more an incentive for me to just skip the whole dang thing and buy it as a trade paperback. Because it's more like if you're going to give me two
but are
versions
you
of
going
the
to get
book,
the red label paperback?
yeah, I know. It's just I kind of understand what they're trying to do. Again, it's one of the things where I think it's just the wrong timing. If this was back when comics were really inexpensive and affordable, back when it was a $2 book, I it might not be a bad idea. You're already charging me $5 simply because it's Wolverine. So it's $3.99 for a standard comic, but it's Wolverine, so I gotta pay $4.99. And then I believe because it's an issue one, you want $5.99. And since it's got Jonathan Hickman and Greg Capullo, that's a premium book that'll never be $3.99. But also, if you want the real version of this, the Greg Capullo, that's $6.99 to get. And it's like, what are we doing? This is not picking a phone plan with price tiers. Like it's just give me the comic book, and I think I would get it if the comic book marketplace was in a better place. But it's like instead of printing better, you're just printing two of the same books now, like
They're
with just a
squeezing
couple
us.
pages. I mean, maybe it works. I don't know. Maybe in the comics, blood being shit. Like, did the red band thing work for people? Did you pick up the red band copy of it instead of it? Did they get the extra dollar out of you? I
But
just don't.
then
And
did
again,
you
it's
wonder if you got the green band, did you wonder if you might have missed a little something and then you go back and get the red band? Or if you got the red band and the splash page was different, do you have to go and get the green band to make sure,
and that's
if you're a collector, it drives you nuts. You're like, I got to get both copies.
Well, that's the whole problem with the entire thing is again, it's Marvel, you need to grow your customer base. And instead, I feel like all they do is they tick off their existing customers.
Or they
What I
squeeze
feel
them.
as a person who went in and bought that comic, I'm like, what the heck, man? I paid you $5 and I don't get the complete comic. Like, what are we doing? Like, I don't, me buying the comic, I needed to spend an extra dollar to get the complete version of the con. And again, I don't want the red band stuff. I don't care. I mean, I think most of it looked like, oh, there's little extra blood droopings and things like that. Like, okay, fine. But like when they're doing different splash pages and stuff like that in the comic, it's like, okay, what the heck are we doing, man? Like, it just, I think as fans right now, Marvel and DC, they just, especially Marvel, I'd say more with these two things. It just seems there's a massive disconnect between the people doing this and the people buying the comic. I don't think anybody was sitting here saying comics are too expensive. You know what would be better? QR code where I don't get the full pages and extra versions of the comic where I don't get the whole story. Like I don't know, man. I'd be interested below if anyone can point out a positive on these. I've seen some
X-Men
reaction. Most
fans,
of it's
help
been
us
largely
out.
negative, but yeah,
Help us
maybe we
out,
are the
X-Men.
old guys screaming at the clouds at this point.
Ah!
I just, again, it's one of those things. It's expensive already. I go to the store, I buy the book, and now you're telling me, you didn't even get the whole book, though. You better have your phone ready. Plus, here's the extra. It just seems like they're trying too many stupid ideas all at once. And I wish instead of trying to squeeze the extra dollar out of every customer, how about we put a little more thought into the storyline and continuity and a little less into the red and band version and the other version. But as always, folks, let us know what you guys think below. Do you think either one of these ideas is a good idea? Just from our part, it's kind of frustrating to see this again as the comic book industry seeming to take another couple steps that just seem to be trying to push away buyers further and further. But
Yep.
let us know what you guys think below. As always, folks, thank you for watching. God bless you. You have a great week.
Thanks, everybody.